All right, hi everyone. Welcome back. This is episode 6 of our Lake Leaders Wally Bites video series. With us today, we have Matt Parker and Aden Swartley, owner operators of New Wave Marine. Hi guys.
How you
Yeah,
doing?
thanks for joining us, guys. We're excited to have you.
Thanks for having us.
So let's just jump right into the questions. Let's get an easy one out of the way. So New Wave Marine, right? Where exactly is that located?
We're right down 507,
590.
or yeah, 590. About, I don't know, 4 miles south of Hamlin, right past the hideout.
And
Yeah.
could you tell us a little bit about the business, what it is you guys do there? And
Yeah, so we do a lot of things here. We winterize boats, we store boats, we service boats. We have a lot of parts and accessories that you need for boats. We're kind of just doing everything that we can marine wise. So if you have need a tube, you need an oar, you need a cleat, need us to service your boat in any way, you have a problem. We work on jet skis a little bit. They're kind of a different animal than boats, believe it or not. But for any of your boating needs, we try and fill whatever issue you have. We try and create an answer for that for you.
so it's kind of like a
So-
one-stop shop for all things boat related. And then
Yeah,
as far
that's
as
the goal.
off-season storage, maintenance, all that stuff, right?
Everything.
Awesome.
So I have a question because I think there's always a lot of confusion around the lake. I mean, obviously there's a lot of communities and homes on Lake Wallenpaupack. So my question is kind of a multifaceted question. One, you're not located on the water. Do you think that gives you an advantage in some ways that you're not on the water? And are you also servicing areas outside of Lake Wallenpaupack? I mean, some of the marinas on the water at Lake Wallenpaupack are really only concentrating on servicing people right there. So I know that's a long question, but go ahead and I'll let you answer it.
Right. I feel being off the water is both a blessing and a curse. So being on the water would be nice. Slips are fantastic and everybody needs slips. But a lot of the marinas that are on the water are very limited to where they can, get business from. The people located near them are who they service and who they work with primarily. So being off the water, anybody from the area, we have boats all over the lake, both sides, and a couple different lakes. We service Lake Ariel, the Hideout, Wallenpaupack, obviously, a couple random lakes around that people come from further away. And being off the water, it has allowed us to spread out and work in a couple different communities rather than just who's right on us. But I see it kind of both ways. Being on the water is obviously, futuristically a goal of ours, just because it's a marina. You want to be on the water. But I don't see it as a hindering fact. And also, as far as property goes, we're not as jammed up as a lot of the on marinas. And we have 2 properties pretty close together. We are capable of spreading a lot more boats out as far as open, floor plan goes. And we're not on a cliff like most marinas.
Yeah, and we definitely want to touch on that space because I think that's a big part of your offering and the services that you provide to customers. And again, full transparency, me personally, before Wally Bites ever started, we had our boat serviced and maintained at New Wave. And I want to kind of go back a little bit because it's a family-run business. We worked with the family, and then you and your group recently acquired New Wave and Rec, and then renamed the company, but it's still a family-owned business. Do you guys want to touch on that at all?
Yeah, I mean, there was a business, like you said here before, that was family owned and operated. It's important to stress that it still is a family owned and operated business because, again, people want to do business with people that are like them, and everybody has a family, whether they like it or not. But the thing that, like, the strength that we have in the marine industry is Aden has the experience of being all over the lake, working at a bunch of different marinas. There's a lot of marinas that do things really well. We do a lot of things really well. There's things that everybody can improve on. And so what we kind of saw with the opportunity with New Wave as a family is, hey, we have boats. We've been on the lake forever. Let's just treat people's boats the way that we want our stuff treated. And so, that's basically, big secret, cat's out of the bag. That's kind of our business model, is just treat people, the way that we want to be treated. And when you're a family owned and operated business, you get the luxury of doing that. The only people that we really have to answer to is each other. So, sometimes dinner after work is a little awkward, but you wouldn't know that coming in the store, right? So, yeah, it's cool that it still is a family. It's important to us because I think that our customer base saw a family owned and operated business, and that's a draw for a lot of people. It's not a big corporation. And we still want to keep that vibe. We're trying to grow, the New Wave family to be able to service a lot of people, kind of like your last question. To Aiden's point, we service a lot of the small communities around the lake, but we picked up boats in Lake Harmony last year. That's like an hour away.
Yeah.
So again, like, getting back to your question about space, like, yeah, we have a lot of indoor space, but our outdoor space is also like almost unlimited, I want to say. So like, yeah, indoor storage is the primary focus of a lot of this, but as we build and grow as a family, and get more space, we're offering storage place for boats, and people that will be patient with us as we grow. Yeah, you might be outside this year, but next year you won't, because our plan is to expand and continue to grow. So that's kind of a long way to answer your question, but
Yeah.
I think
No. I think it's great, and it's important. I mean, personality, showcasing how you want to run the business and what your expectations are. People can see that, and you're very genuine. And I've had several conversations with you guys. So I mean, it's exciting. It's not like a black box. You drop your boat off, or you pick our boat up, and like it's like, hey, your boat's done. We have no idea. There's no conversations. You guys are really, really good at the customer service aspect of like communicating. So I value that personally.
So it sounded like you guys obviously have parts, right? So if there's a broken part on somebody's boat, you guys would be a good place to go and pick that up. Sounds like you guys do maintenance, winterization, pickup, drop off services. Do you guys do any sort of rentals?
We don't.
You don't do any rentals. Okay. Any other services you'd like to highlight?
I mean, our main, in this area, you only boat for what, 3-4 months a year if you're lucky. So a huge service is storage, which we've talked about a ton.
Yeah.
Indoor storage is the hot commodity right now. Everybody's looking for it. We just keep building more. So that's definitely one of our big things is storage. And the winter and the fall and spring seasons are the crazy times. So we offer a full package of pickup, winterization, and indoor storage, and then in the spring it's a spring commissioning and put back on your dock.
Is that the captain's package?
That would be the captain's package, yeah.
And that's what Ed subscribes to.
Yeah, that's what Ed does, yeah.
It's the best.
Could you maybe talk a little bit about some of the benefits of indoor storage versus, somebody who perhaps doesn't have access to indoor storage and just decides to shrink wrap the boat or maybe put their cover on and then store it outdoors? What are some of the benefits of that indoor storage?
So, I mean, indoor storage is, it's not climate controlled or anything like that. So obviously, so you still have to deal with the cold. So obviously the boat still has to be winterized, but as soon as you put your boat outside, we wrap boats as well. I mean, we have lots of boats outside in the winter. It's not a bad solution. It is a little bit cheaper. However, those materials are getting more and more expensive. So it's not that much cheaper anymore. It's just the space isn't available inside in this area.
Yeah. But the benefit would be, like, you're not leaving your boat outside to the elements to have, like a bird make a nest in there or like an animal crawl up in there. I mean, like, unfortunately, that's not unheard of because, the boats are wrapped, but they're not, they're not weatherproof, meaning they're not I don't know, like vacuum sealed.
Sure. Yeah, moisture, everything can get
right. And we have boats come back that we've wrapped, in the spring, they'll come back and they'll have a tree limb through the top of it, just stuff like, it's the risks you take when you're outside. We didn't have any plastic collapse.
No.
So all of our
Yeah.
all of our wrap boats stayed wrapped, which is good, which is a big problem with wrapping your boats. But we have a pretty good system with that. So we didn't have any collapse. But we did have a couple, tree limbs, random stuff coming through. It's just, it's a safety thing for your boat, and it's much cleaner.
Yeah.
The worst thing you got to worry about is a little bit of dust versus, all your seats being covered in mold, and
Right.
it was slightly damp when it got wrapped, so now all under your seats are
Yeah.
all moldy, and that life jacket you forgot about under there,
Yeah.
it's just trash now, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I think, again, and talking about the service aspect of like picking up people's boats if they subscribe to that service that you offer. For me, it's been unbelievably convenient based on the fact that like I call with a little bit of notice, and you come over and pick my boat up out of the dock. And when it's time to put it in the spring, you put the boat right back on the dock the way it was when you picked it up. So just that convenience factor alone, and the service aspect that you provide, I think it's been extremely valuable for us. And I think the whole package is competitively priced for what I've heard around the lake. So I recommend it to everybody. But what about, I mean, obviously storage, you didn't touch on maintenance. So you guys have a full service maintenance department then? So repairs,
Yep.
winterization, all that stuff that,
Yep.
and you have technicians that work there at New Wave?
Mhm.
Yeah, we just hired another kid. He has 3 years of experience. His name is Mike. He's been a great addition to the team. Aden was the mechanic last year. So he kind of runs that side. He's certified fully in Suzuki, like was down in Florida doing some training. Mike has a lot of Yamaha and some IO experience. He's, willing to go down and get certified through Suzuki as well, which is something that we offer for employees, is continuing education. So right now it's Aden and Mike as the primary techs. If you can figure out a problem that they can't fix, it's you've done something pretty good to your boat. So we have a good team here, and like I said, we're still growing. And on top of all those services that we talked about, now we're getting into boat sales too. So I know
Nice.
that, yeah, Ed, I say you came by and you saw, but we just started working with a company called Viaggio. They're a really cool brand. They're really affordable boats. We have 3 of them in stock right now, that we're, pricing to sell. We have a new order that we're able to put in July 1st. So coming up. So if we have something here that you don't like, we can order it for you and it'll be here for next year. So that's a new kind of avenue for us, is boat sales. We dabbled in consignments last year. We sold maybe like 10 boats through consignment.
Yep.
And that was a really good experience, going through that process and helping people move their boat along if they're done with it. But we're really excited to get into Viaggio and start selling some new stuff, because the pontoon boat is like the new wake boat, you know what I mean? So 5-10 years ago, everybody had to have wake boat, but now these pontoon boats come out with 200s, 300s, 400s, and they're doing everything that these wake boats can do, but with 14 people on it instead of 7.
Right.
So
Yeah, I mean, that's great. What about the power plants? Like what are you guys looking at to power some of those pontoons that you're getting from Viaggio?
So we're running all Suzuki. We're a Suzuki brand, or Suzuki Marino. We're a full dealer with them. So we'll be buying Viaggios with Suzuki packages. We have 2 22 foots and a 24 foot or 25 foot in stock right now. Both of the 22s are going to have Suzuki 200s on it. Standard steering, just hydraulic. It's not your fly-by-wire stuff, so it's nothing too technical. But hydraulics will run a 200 all day, and then on the 25 footer, we're putting a 250 on it.
Aside from Suzuki and Yamaha, are there any other brands that you guys also maintain? Is it everything or just those 2?
Yeah, no, we maintain everything. Obviously, we're a Suzuki dealer. We're not a Yamaha or a Merc or a Honda dealer.
Mm-hmm.
We can get the parts. It's not too much of an issue most of the time. Every once in a while, if it's an older motor, that kind of stuff, and it's from a brand that we are not, if it's a Mercury, we do take a little bit longer every once in a while to get like an older part for an older motor. That's not one of our brands, but we service everything.
That's great.
Yeah.
And how many people do you have employed there? How big is your service team? I know, Aden, you said you used to do that last year.
Yeah,
Who else is back there?
yeah. So we brought on Mike, who we spoke about earlier. It's me and Matt, and my wife Julie is our front desk. So it's 4 of us.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And as the revenue streams grow, you guys will be able to bring in more and more people to help offset the 90 hours a week that you're currently working, probably.
Yeah.
Well, that's it's exciting that you have the new boat avenue. And so just talking through, how does somebody go about reaching out to you guys about service or buying a boat? Like how do you want people reaching out to you? Do you just want walk-in travel? You want them calling you, setting an appointment?
Yeah, anything really at the moment is okay. Like a phone call is always great. Say, hey, you guys, I just heard you sold these, do you have one? I want to come see it. Making an appointment is fine. But if you walk in, I'm not going to say, hey, call me back because I'm busy today. That's not like the vibe that we want to put out, So if people just hear or drive past, we just put a Viaggio sign out on the road today.
Oh, nice.
Actually, it just came in. So if you drive past it and you're like, whoa, what's that? Just stop in and say, what's up? We're happy to at least meet people and have the conversation. We have email, we have the phone, we have all that stuff. So really whatever is the most convenient for people is how we plan to market these things. So obviously they'll be out on Facebook and like everything for sale, but I prefer to interact with people face to face. Honestly, it's much more genuine. Emails and texts, verbiage can get kind of construed and misunderstood and misinterpreted. But so face to face is really how I prefer to do business. But I understand there's people, the goal is honestly the closest Viaggio dealer to us is down in South Jersey, and they're like a powerhouse. They sell like hundreds of them a year. But other than that, there's no one else really in the area selling them. So our plan is to honestly draw people from New York, Ohio, Virginia, West Virginia to, this place. And the way that our marketing strategy is also set up is, you can set up geofencing for this specific location. And so we'll push ads out to people all over the country. So
don't give your strategy away, Matt.
Say that again?
So don't give your strategy away.
Yeah, again, like, it's all right. That's how confident we are in our ability to move these things, right? But no, it's an exciting time to be here. Some of it'll work and some of it's going to be a disaster, but that's part of learning how to do this well. So we're excited to do it. We're excited to do it.
Trev, I have a question just about, and I hear this a lot from people around the lake, and maybe you guys can address this too. Like, well, I'm thinking about buying a boat, or I have a boat, but I don't have a trailer. So can you kind of address a person's concerns about one, having a boat, no trailer, or considering buying a boat with no trailer, so that people can finally put this concern to rest?
Right.
Our captain's package, where we're picking your boat up, we transport your boat twice a year, maybe one more time depending if it's at our main facility or if it's at our storage facility. But as far as pontoon boats go, if you don't have a trailer, it doesn't matter to us. We have lift trailers that practically fit every pontoon boat that we've come across, at least the ones around here. We have a 25-foot and a 28-foot lift trailer that we can put any pontoon boat on, and when we bring it back, we drop it down on foam. So it's a real safe way to transport stuff. And a lot of people are buying boats without trailers, or they're at a marina that they're trapped at because it's on the water and they take care of it. But we definitely have a solution for pontoon boats. When it comes to V-haul boats, we do have some trailers. We don't have a trailer for everybody, but we do have a couple, fiberglass boat, V-boat customers that we do use our trailers for. We don't have a surplus of that, but if it's a pontoon boat, it's not an issue.
Yeah. And if you were, again, you raise a good point, Aden. Boats, you're storing pontoons at least on some foam once they come in. So can you do that also with some V bottom boats that
it depends on the size. So a lot of people do it, but I don't love putting big V boats on foam. Right. Especially sitting all through the winter, and
sure.
Yeah, I just don't find that to be a super settling thing to do.
Yeah.
So if I have a V boat, it's stored on a trailer, just for safety.
Yeah. and there are some trailers potentially that you have available
Sure.
on site for those types of interactions.
Yeah.
That's great. I mean, I love that clarification, even for my own, personal awareness. But
I wanted to go back a little bit to the maintenance and winterization piece. Two questions. Number one, first, it sounded like there was some planned upgrades to your indoor storage facility. I think I heard you say no climate control yet.
Yeah.
So could you speak a little bit about maybe what those future plans are for developing that?
Yeah. So right now we have 27,000 square feet of indoor storage, right? It's not climate controlled, meaning, it's just a barn that has some doors on it. As we grow, the goal is to offer that as an upgrade option for customers, because like, let's face it, a lot of these boats are costing people, sometimes hundreds of thousands of dollars. And when we say climate control, like we're not saying like it's going to be 70 degrees, but it just won't freeze. It'll probably be like 50, 55 degrees in
Right,
these.
just above freezing.
Correct,
Yeah.
in these things. So looking at the future for this year, we have access to an additional 5,000 square feet of indoor storage. So we're going to be offering about 32,000 feet of indoor storage this year, just over 30. And then next year, which is the 24 storage season, we're talking about building another 12,000 square foot building. Is that the one that we do climate control in? It's, everything comes down to money, right?
Yeah.
And the buildings that we have currently can also be converted to having climate control in them.
Mhm.
They can just be upgraded. So we can build buildings and offer indoor space, and then as revenue builds in the company, we can upgrade to climate controlled spaces.
Yeah.
So the goal right now is to just get space for people to be inside, because that's what people want. That's the premium kind of storage space that's available. And then once we kind of hit our niche or hit our max, because last year it was just Aden and I, and we did like just about 200 boats, just the two of us. That we moved, and like that doesn't even count the transient customers that were in and out.
Yeah.
Those 200 stores,
Store
probably
boats.
another 200 of boats that came and left.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's talk then about, I mean, is that kind of like a first come first serve thing, or is it like if you were an indoor customer last year, you kind of have first dibs at also reserving indoor space again this year?
Yeah, so with our captain's package, and this is just our captains, we actually had very few indoor storage customers that were not part of our captain's package, less than 20.
Yeah.
So with our captain's package, until July 1st of the following summer, your spot is reserved. And also, May 1st.
Yeah.
This past year, until May 1st, you got a 5% discount on the new pricing. Until July 1st, your spot is saved for the upcoming season.
Okay.
After July 1st, if say a couple of our captain's packages don't return or sold their boat or what have you, we do have open spots coming July 1st, and as we grow, this year we're going to have an extra 5,000 square feet?
Yeah.
An extra 5,000 square feet that we didn't have last year. So those spots become open on July 1st, and we book that from there on.
And that indoor storage, it sounds like that sells out every year. Is that correct?
Yeah. So just to clarify, when Aden says that we keep someone's spot until July 1st, we just don't offer it to the public. So the way that our storage works is it's pay up front for the season that's upcoming. So we won't sell your spot to someone until July 2nd. But if you don't pay for your indoor space, it becomes available technically on July 2nd.
Yeah.
Now let's talk a little bit about like timing, right? Because I mean, so I don't live near the lake. I have a local marina where I live. Unfortunately, I keep my boat in my driveway probably more often than I should. I don't get out enough. But they like to tell me that they need, usually about 4 to 6 weeks to get on the wait list for winterization. And that always frustrates me because, it's like the season sometimes can go on so late. And if you wait, then it's, December before you're getting your boat back.
Right.
And you're in that freezing temperature. So what is your recommendation, right? What is a good time for people who aren't taking advantage of the indoor storage, who just want to bring their boat to you for winterization, have it returned to them for their own storage options? What is your timing on, when they should start to call and get that stuff scheduled?
Yeah, that's a good question, right? Because it is a little bit weird. Because like we were boating in April this year, which is wild. That usually doesn't happen. So is the season does that mean that it's gonna stay warm all year, like into October? You never know the answer to that, right? So our goal when we're winterizing stuff is to have everything done by Thanksgiving. Everything. So if you come in like a few days before Thanksgiving, we're gonna do our best to get it done for you. But our shop time probably depend on what you need. Like if you just need a winterization, we can knock it out usually within a week. If you're going to come in and drop it off, if we have to pick it up and do some other work to it, you want it shrink wrap, or probably like a 2-week lead time, honestly. But again, depending on how it all falls, like there's like a month, probably from like the beginning of October till the middle of November, so 6 weeks. That is utter chaos for us. I'll just be totally honest.
Yeah.
Aden and I, like we're picking up, 20, 30 boats a day. We're trying to get some of them processed and moved. There's no room in the shop for anything. And it's just chaos. So if you catch us during that week and we haven't had our coffee, it could be we'll be in our best behavior, but we might not be as pleasant as we otherwise would be.
And I'm guessing it's also in the spring, right? Everybody's going to be calling saying, I need my boat, right? I want my boat. The weather's nice.
Exactly.
So on both sides, to kind of advance that conversation, on both sides in the spring and the fall, for our captain's package customers, we do require a 2-week heads up, before drop off and before pickup. So give us a call 2 weeks beforehand, and we'll get you on the schedule then.
Right.
Just because that's how the schedule needs to work out. Being a small crew, we can only do this many boats, which we've calculated. So we schedule that many boats for that week, and we try to fit people in where we possibly can, but it's a busy time, but 4 to 6 weeks, that's crazy. We're never 4 to 6 weeks.
To wrap up the winterization and kind of maintenance piece of the interview, what are some basic things that you would recommend doing annually, for your typical boat owner? They go out, they're weekend boaters, they're putting on just a little bit of hours each season. What are the typical maintenance steps that you would recommend, say, to just get by?
So your typical intervals it's fairly basic. So a tune-up, which would be your fuel filter, spark plugs, fuel water separator if you have it. Those are usually every other year, depending on how many hours you have on your boat or how much you use it. And then an oil change are the two basic, run-of-the-mill maintenance items. And we say about 2 years for both of them. For a lot of people that run our system and have been running in our package for a long time, we try to alternate years. So every year you get something done to your boat, but you never get hit with both in the same year. But 2 years is normally the maintenance interval for both of those things. And if you can keep both of those things going, and making sure you have fresh, good non-ethanol gas, and for outboards, your water pump or impeller pump every 3 to 5 years. That's how you keep a boat running. Other than making sure it's covered and keeping your seats and carpet nice. Usually, if you handle those simple intervals until something real breaks, which we're talking about boats here, it's going to happen. Those are your basic intervals for your everyday boater.
So, Aden, following up on your answer, which was going to be my question, what are some of the big mistakes that people make? Like, what are some? Can you share some just dumb, like, hey, customer A, don't do this with your boat because you're asking for trouble?
Absolutely. So one of the big things is people that either winterize their own boats or do their own work on their boats and that kind of stuff. Fuel is a huge issue. So there's 2 sides of fuel I'll talk about. One, if a boat's going to sit for more than 2 or 3 months, you need to stabilize the fuel. All fuel or most fuel has ethanol in it. If ethanol sits, it will evaporate and become water in your fuel tank. Boats don't, condensate, not evaporate. Boats don't run on water. They never have. So we come across that issue constantly. And sometimes you can't avoid it. I mean, we stabilize all the fuel in all of our boats, and sometimes you run into it. It's not, it's not a fail safe. You can't make it perfect every time,
Especially storing outside.
especially storing outside.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, as long as we're talking about fuel, there's very few places that are on the water. You have your Wallenpaupack gas stations, the marinas that are on the water. They all sell non-ethanol fuel, which is what you should be running in a boat, or anything that sits for a long period of time. Boats, lawnmowers, anything you're not using daily, like your car. Ethanol percentages have gone up quite a bit in the last couple of years. So I would say before COVID, 2018, 2019, if you were to test, your standard regular gas pump gas, you were probably sitting at 7, 8, 9% ethanol. And today we're looking at 15 to 17% ethanol. So there's a couple of gas stations on the road around here. And then all the gas stations on Lake Wallenpaupack that will sell non-ethanol fuel. That will save you from a bunch of headaches.
Okay.
Another
That's
good
great.
one that we see is guys at the marina that are launching their boat for the first time. They want to make sure their battery's good, so they start the boat before it gets in the water, especially with like an outboard, and that will ruin your water pump. So don't do that.
Yeah.
That's not a good. That's not a
If
good.
you're going to
That's
start
good
your
advice.
if you're
Right.
going to
I
start your
saw-
motor, make sure it's in the water.
I saw
Which-
I saw a video the other day of a guy who was a brand new boat owner. He thought he was filling it up with gas, but he actually had the gas nozzle in one of the rod holders.
Yeah.
He was just filling up the whole of the boat with fuel coming out of the.
That's a good one. That's
Not
a
good.
No,
Um,
those are all good things. Anything else that you've
sure. I
seen?
mean, how long
time
do
and
you
time
want this interview to be?
Right.
Oh man, no, just the big ones, man. We want to get to the important stuff.
Trim for outboard motors is a big thing. You
Yeah.
see it all over the place. People run their trim all the way up to keep their motor out of the water. Don't do that. First off, you're running on a hydraulic pump. So if you're going to leave a hydraulic pump fully loaded for the 2 weeks that you're gone, it's not healthy for that. We see trim pumps and trim seals blow out from that all the time, and they get stuck sometimes.
Yeah.
And the second part of that is your motor should be in the water. People leave it out so it doesn't get dirty. But all that does is dry out the seals and the gaskets and everything in your lower unit, including your water pump. Premature water pump failure is going to be your number one, bad thing that happens from that, other than the hydraulic pumps.
So just to be clear, for all the people, and I drive around Lake Wallenpaupack all the time, their boats are docked, their outboard motors are sitting out of the water. Your suggestion is put those motors back down into the water. Is that correct?
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
That's great advice.
And if you are in a super shallow spot and you're worried about, you hitting a rock or something, pull it out of the water, but don't put it all the way up. Once you have it all the way up, you start having locking issues and hydraulic issues and seal issues. I'm not saying if you leave your engine out of the water, you're going to have a bad water pump, but just don't put it all the way up.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But I mean, it's good business for you guys. I mean, honestly, every marina should be like, yeah, here's instructions, leave your motor out of the water. But no, I mean, I'm excited for you guys. I mean, I've gotten to know you a little bit over the last year and a half. I'm excited for all the growth, the development that you're doing for the business. And I've just enjoyed thoroughly our conversations. Is there anything that you guys wanted to share in this interview with an audience about yourselves or the business that we didn't really talk about? Anything that we missed?
Yes, I mean, the whole new wave thing was kind of an accident, to be honest. So I graduated high school and I went to a semester of college out in Pittsburgh. COVID hit and I came home and never went back. So we purchased a pole barn up in Hamlin on Sawmill Road and started storing boats, which is why I was going to college. I was going to college for a business degree to work with boats.
Yep.
So we started storing a couple boats up in Hamlin, filled that building first year. I mean, what was it, like 26, 27 boats. I have, those customers most of them are still here with us and have watched us grow. And the realtor that sold us that property and that barn actually sent me an email the first winter we owned that property. and he was like, "Hey, listen, I don't know where you guys are at with your business or how you guys are doing, but there's a offshore marina for sale down the road from you." So my father, who's a silent partner in this business, he was on vacation at the time. I was 19.
Yeah.
I was 19,
Crazy.
and so I called him and I was like, "Listen, the realtor sent me this. What do you think?" And he was like, "I'll set up a time and go see it." So I set up a time and went to see it. He was down in Florida or something for 2 weeks, and I called him when I was done with it. I was like, "We need to investigate this further." It's a really clean property. They have a great business model set up. They want to retire. They're done. So when he got home, we both came over and started looking at this, and just kind of progressed from there. Convinced him and his family to come up and come play with boats with us, and we're just growing and getting more boats and becoming the business that we want to be.
That's awesome. How do you two, Matt and Aden, how do you know each other?
Yeah, so I married his sister.
Ah,
Um,
that's definitely a way to know each other. Yes.
yeah. So I started dating his sister in high school, actually, and so we dated through our senior year of high school and college. And so I've known Aden since he was 5 or 6.
Wow.
2008.
So 7.
7, since he
Yeah.
was 7. So we've always just been around riding dirt bikes and goofing off and getting in trouble. And I had an opportunity at my other job. They wanted me to move down to North Carolina, and it wasn't a good match. Kind of the same time that all this was going on. And like Aden said, I called him one day. I was like, "Yo, what do you think about this marina thing?" He's like, "Well, I'm doing it." And I was like, "Well, do you want help? Do you need help? Like, I don't want to step on any toes. I know that you've already built yourself like a pretty successful little side hustle."
Yeah.
He's like, "No, dude, like we need people. We need people to come do it." So Matt and I were like, "Hey, let's move." We moved from Bucks County up here a year ago, Father's Day. So yesterday, we've been up here a full year now.
Yeah.
And we haven't looked back.
That's great, guys. I mean, it's such a good story too. And I mean, keeping it in the family that way. And Matt, I know you have a young son, correct?
2.
Oh, you have two. I've only met I guess your youngest boy, or do you have one younger?
Yeah, Jackson. So Maverick is 7.
Okay.
He'll be 8 on July 5th, and then Jackson's 4, who
Yeah,
you met.
I met Jackson. Yeah.
Yeah. So I got 2 boys. And they're loving life. We got a house up here with some property that they love. They have some quads that I'm in the back of the shop right now that are gonna get fixed. So it's
Cool.
it's a cool place.
And Aden, no kids for you yet, right? Yeah, take your time.
Just got married last January.
Yeah.
So I was gone most of the winter. Got married in January. Spent a week up in New York snowboarding, and then went down to the DR for a week.
Wow.
And then
Nice,
got back from that and went straight down to Florida for 2.5 weeks for Suzuki training, for all my certifications and that kind of stuff. And then came home and it was spring. So
yeah, and it was cleaning boats, getting boats ready.
Yep.
Wow, that's pretty cool background. There's probably a lot of owners around the lake that won't share that kind of story. So I appreciate you guys letting us know kind of where you're from, what you're about. All right, man. Anything else, guys?
I think that's it. Just stop by and say hi. We love making new friends, so we're always available.
Yeah.